Hey guys, Helen Hart Smith here again from the Heart of the Witch's Path YouTube channel. Hope you're having a good day. I'm trying to be productive today. After a super busy weekend, holy cramoly. If you watch the, or if you follow the Instagram, I posted what the roomie and I did yesterday, which was can up a storm. Holy Toledo. We did like 16 quarts of pasta sauce and then 3 quarts and 9 pints of stewed tomatoes. We had a lot of tomatoes going on yesterday. Ooh, and we did them all. And I hurt today, but I'm here to do a book review for you guys. I picked up this really nifty book. Oh, dang it. I just lost the page that I was trying to hold. Hold on. Oh, good. I found it again. All right. So I'm here to talk about the book called Healing Crystals and Gemstones from Amethyst to Zircon. And this is by Dr. Flora Peszczak-Bomer and Gisela Schreiber. I probably murdered both those names, and I'm really sorry, folks. However, it's such a good book. So I happened upon, I don't even know if I can say that I happened upon this book, because I think it might have been my friend Lee that pointed it out to me. We walked into a large bookstore, and she said, hey, there's a stone book over there. Hey, there's a stone book. Hey, there's another stone book. So this was priced right. I took the little sticker off, but it was on like the remainders table, or I don't know what you even call that, but they're reduced books, okay? So this book normally retails for, let's see what we got on the jacket. Do we have anything on the jacket? There's nothing on the jacket. Well, that's not helpful. Anyhow, I picked up this book for $10. So, it's really cool, and I will tell you why I liked it. Let's get into it. So this particular book is copyrighted for first time in English in 2003. This book is just over 300 pages, and I did a search because, you know, generally if a book is reduced, then that means that it didn't sell or what have you. And I want to say, like, this one doesn't have any volume information or anything like that, but I looked up this title on Amazon, and I think there may be a newer version that's available because it had a different cover. Now, it could just have a different cover. I'm not certain, and I don't even remember how much that book was going for on Amazon. But as always, I will put a link in the description box below. And of course, try to shop local as much as possible. I always do include an Amazon link just for quick referencing for you guys. So I dig this book for multiple reasons. First of all, this is an all-color book. So as we flip through this, you'll see that everything is in color. So when it comes to a good stone book or a good plant book, having color pictures can be an incredibly helpful thing, especially if you're trying to identify things. So there you have it. There's a great, so let's talk about like the contents of the book and such. So in the beginning, there's a lovely section where it talks about stones and just giving some like primary information, like what different kinds of magmatic, volcanic and plutonic rock, you know, just kind of giving you some basic geology type information. There's the geometry of stones. They've got these cute little, well, not cute, there's these helpful diagrams that show how crystals form and rocks form, because some are cubic, some are hexagonal, and things like that. And that becomes pertinent as you move through the book, because that information is given to you for each stone. So that's kind of cool. There's also a nice table here with the Mohs scale. I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced. Mohs. The Mohs scale, that's what I'm going to call it. If I'm not right, then please let me know nicely in the comments below. But this is a hardness scale. Stones start with a 1, and those are your softer stones like gypsum and soapstone, and work up through a 10, which is your diamonds. So diamonds are the hardest. The gypsum and soapstone would be your softest. So there's a nice table there that talks about characteristics. One thing, this book for me is a really nice mixture of metaphysical qualities and geology, actual geology qualities. And that's why I liked this book and picked it up. So there's a thing here that I, as I was flipping through quickly, I saw this and it got me thinking, and I never would, well, I shouldn't say never, but it was kind of a nice thing to point out because I'm like, well, my goodness, why didn't I think of that myself? So they're talking about the forms of gemstones and like basically if you're going to use them magically, what kind of power do you get out of them is what I'll say. So they're talking here about how rough stones kind of have a focus on primordial magic. So in a raw state, you're going to get a much more primordial connection with the qualities of that particular stone. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. And then for tumbled stones, it's gentle and calming. And so, you know, a stone has been put through that process where it's no longer raw and jagged, it's smoothed and polished. And so I could definitely see how it could have gentle and calming effects when used in magic. Okay. And then for jewelry, it talks about the healing power of beauty. And so I know anyone worth their weight in, you know, witchiness, you know, we wear stones as jewelry. Today I'm wearing my my beautiful labradorite pendant. I'm wearing my bumblebee jasper pendant. I'm wearing my moonstone ring, as I often do. All my other rings are silver. Which of course has its own properties. And so I was like, well, that's just really interesting to have. I've never seen that anywhere. So that was kind of groovy. So next there's a section on signs of the zodiac. And so it breaks it down, starting with Capricorn, each of these signs, it talks about the gemstones that work with that particular sign and why and things like that. So I haven't read through that just yet, but I like knowing that it's there. And it's quite a chunky section, so there's some good information there. And so that then, I believe, yes, that takes us into the main body of the book. And so let's just flip through this and let's see what stone wants to talk with us today. We're doing a little bibliomancy here today, guys. So oh gosh, how do I even say this? Dumortierite. Dumortierite. Does that sound right? Dumortierite. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing any pronunciation help. But so here's what I particularly liked about this book. Each stone has a 2-page layout. Okay. So we have, it looks like we're showing a polished stone and a rough stone. Now, I am not familiar at all with this particular stone. So maybe there's a reason why it jumped out and we're looking at it. But what I like about this setup is that I'm going to try to, utilize my shoulder to help with this. So each stone has sections on history and legend. So things that are associated historically and legend-wise with this particular stone. Then we have a section on healing properties. Over here, we have magical properties. We have chakra classification, which that reminds me, there's a chakra section that I must have flipped past that's in the beginning of this book too. So different stones that are associated with the chakras, that's kind of nice. If this particular stone is associated with any star sign, it'll tell you which one. So dumortierite is linked with Sagittarius. And then we also have application and care. And so let's see. The stone should be rinsed once a week under warm running water and recharged by placing it among lead crystals for a period of 2 hours. So that kind of information, I want to flip the page and just see. So emerald, after each application, the stone should be regularly cleansed under running water. Once a month, it should be recharged in the sun. It develops its strength, particularly in association with rock, crystal, and ruby. So, care and tips. Now, I would have to say that that's a suggestion, maybe, because I think we each, if you're a magic user and if you use stones, I think you develop your own recharging. And if you develop a relationship with that particular stone, if it needs more care than what you're giving it, I would like to think that the deva of that stone would let you know. But I think that it's very interesting that that kind of information is included in this book. Okay. And then what really sold me, lately I've been wanting to educate myself more on the geological side of stones. I've been working with them in a magical sense for many years, but I want to get a little bit more understanding of the geology of things. So this final section over here, it lists things like where it's found. So this dumortierite is found in Madagascar, Canada, the United States, Namibia, particularly in South Africa. It has the colors that you will find it in. So this is blue in many shades, extending to violet blue. It gives the chemical composition. So if you're very much into science and know everything from your periodic table, you can just look at that and see what that is, that makeup for this particular stone. It gives the hardness. So for this stone, it is a 7. So it's on the harder side of the Mohs scale. It gives the available forms. So it says that it's chiefly found as tumbled stones and gemstones. And then finally, it gives the crystallization, as we talked about earlier, how it forms. It is an aluminum silicate mineral with traces of manganese, iron, and zinc, giving it its blue color, orthorhombic crystal. So there, I'll let you kind of have a little look-see there at the pages. And so I was gonna count like how many stones are covered in this book, because not all of them are covered, but there's quite a few that are. So let's see. The stones begin on page 54, and they go through, let's see, they go through zircon, ziosite. So ziosite is on page 297. So that's roughly 240, 250 pages. About 250 pages, 2 pages per. So that's about 125 roughly, stones that are covered in this book. I really got this book for the as I said, for the geography side of things, to know the hardness of each of them and to kind of have that chemical composition so that I could try to learn a little bit more about that. And so I think that there is plenty of rocks in here and crystals that you can look up. One thing that they're listed alphabetically. So if you're trying to identify rocks, you might not have as easy a time with this one. I know that there's at least one Judy Hall book. I'm trying to remember the stone books that I have off the top of my head. And I don't remember, but I know there's a Judy Hall book where they're all classified by color. And so if you're trying to identify, then that's really, really easy. So that you're not going to necessarily get that with this particular book, but man, there's so much other really good information in here that it kind of makes up for it. And I mean, if you're getting into stones that much, then you might be able to already identify, or if you're purchasing things, then you are asking and knowing what they are when you purchase them. So hopefully you don't have to identify. I know that when I first kind of started buying stones, I was buying them and not necessarily marking what they were or having them organized to know what they were. And so I got to a point where I had a whole bunch of stones and I had to figure out what they were. And so that kind of stunk. But since then, I've been making sure that I identify what I have so that I don't have to figure it out at a later date. And so that's one big tip that I could totally give you guys, is if you're buying stones, know what they are and mark them so that when you bring them home, you know. And you don't have to deal with that nonsense of re-identifying them. It looks like silver is in here, so gold might be in here as well. Let's see if I can, yep, gold is in here. So that's kind of nice. You've got some metal that's in here as well. So that's kind of cool. And then there's a section here, your personal ABC of crystals and gemstones. And so in this section, if you're looking for stones to help with depression, you can come back here and it will it's giving you some like really specific stuff, because it says a chain with tourmaline should be worn. Tourmaline is especially helpful for those going through a change in life. So they're not just listing the stone. They're kind of saying it's best if you do it this way. I don't know. It's kind of specific, but maybe that's what some people need. I mean, to each their own in that kind of a situation. But I liked this book a lot, and I wanted to make sure that I had an opportunity to share it with you guys. As you can see, while I'm thinking about it, there is a slip cover, and if you wanted to ditch the slip cover, look, it's the same book without the slip cover. So I know sometimes slip covers get trashed, so there's another little, tidbit for you. As far as brooms, I'm going to give this a really solid 4, and only not giving it a 5 because I know that there are some other things in some other books that kind of make them useful too, like the separation by color for identification purposes. But I'd even go so far as a 4.5, because this is a really good book. The price was stupendous. $10 for this book is incredible. And like I said, if you end up looking on Amazon for it, I think it's going to be a little bit more, but not much more. I want to say it was like in the $15 to $20 range, guessing. I hope I'm not wrong. If I am, I'm really sorry, but it's been a minute since I looked that up, so I didn't just look at it today. So I would really recommend this book because it's a good intro to some correspondence work. It's got the geology stuff to it. It's color. There's some other extra information in it that's really solid. The only thing that I can't stress enough is if you're working with stones, you can buy 15 different kinds of books like this. But you should be establishing a relationship with the stone and letting the stone tell you how it wants to work with you. Because 15 different books, you can have 15 different things that people think that you should use it for, and none of it could be how that stone wants to work with you. So I can't stress it enough to kind of look yourself for how stones want to work with you. So that's going to be it for this review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you learned something or did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. We love to have you come back and see what other messes or whatever I'm sharing here. If you have that book, or if you have a stone book that you would like to recommend, I would definitely like to hear about it. So do so in the comments below. You can also email me at heartofthewitchespath@yahoo.com. Please remember to check out the Instagram, which is at Heart of the Witch's Path. There's a Facebook page under Heart of the Witch's Path. Links for both of those are below. I think that's about it. So thanks for walking the path for a little while with me, and until next time, blessed be.